Greetings everyone and welcome to a Sunday afternoon facts only video where I'm going to try to share with you the best of my ability, some clarifying points coming after the live stream last night. If you missed that, I was giving a play-by-play of what was happening, the information coming in from the Middle East. And of course, we always want to talk about how this affects the war in Ukraine. And of course it will, due to the serious connection with Russia. I asked everyone at the end of the live stream, let's just be patient. Let's wait. Like in regard to the plane going down, was Assad on it? Could he have been on it? Let's wait. If you go to the very end of the live stream last night, I said, everybody be patient. In about 24 hours, we will know more information. So we are back now before 24 hours and going to answer that with the best facts we can give you, the best sources we can give you. And additionally, I told you on the live stream last night, because there was a lot of people asking questions. Greg, thank you for doing this. I know we're here to support Ukraine and the good things in the world, but we see what you're talking about here and making, connecting the dots for us. And there was quite a few people asking me to share with the world, the community, what are these faction groups? What are these freedom fighters or these rebel groups? Who are they? I told you guys in the live stream that if you would just give me a little bit of time, I would find out the exact opposition groups that were fighting in Syria. I have that information for you as well. So let's start right now with, where is Assad? Did he go down in that plane? No, he did not. I'm glad at the end of the stream last night, I suggested that we all be patient. Now, here's what is interesting, and this is so super cool for all of you guys in here supporting Ukraine. It was actually the Ukrainian intelligence, even quicker than Mossad, quicker than the CIA, quicker than other MI6, other great intelligence organizations around the world from different countries. It was actually the Ukrainian intelligence that first started reporting and stating Russian forces helped Bashar al-Assad escape Damascus. They then went on to describe that this Ilyushin 76 plane that did crash was a show. It was a farce to basically, Ukraine called it smoke and mirrors, to take things off of the radar and allow speculation to run and to run. This is what Russia does. This is what the Kremlin does. Ukraine saying this is Russian disinformation to conceal their operation, their being the Kremlin, the Russian operation, to evacuate Assad and his inner circle. We know that Assad members are in the UAE. We know that Assad family members, his brother escaping to the UAE, now getting multiple confirmations, enough to where we're comfortable to share that Assad is in Russia. How do we know that? Well, TASS coming out and also confirming, additionally, other American and European sites confirming, and news organizations, that Assad is in Moscow. Russian media, and it's really interesting, Russian media came out and said, yes, Assad is here, but they only did it after the Ukrainians said Assad escaped. Russia did an operation and they got him and his inner circle out. But the official statement coming from the Kremlin, former Syrian President Bashar Assad and his family members are in Russia. They were granted political asylum for humanitarian reasons. Guys, just the thoughts of this is pure evil. Assad, who gassed his own people. The relationship between Assad and Vladimir Putin and Iran. We'll talk more about that later. Further defining the axis of evil and further validating that the war in Ukraine is a just war, fighting against a very evil dictator. I told you guys that I would gather the information and share with you the faction groups that were fighting in Syria to overthrow the Assad regime. Looking at the left of this graphic, you see the SNA. This is number one. And what's interesting, as you look at this graphic, these are the four key players or factions, but underneath those groups are then many sub-factions. So let's be very honest. We have a transitional government in place in Syria. There will be transfers of power, but the Assad regime is and has been overthrown. It is gone. But with that said, that doesn't mean that everything is all roses and pumpkin pies for Syria. It will be a challenge, and that is why the world community making statements, and even the transitional leaders last night on the video to TV and on the radio in Syria says we're willing to work with international circles to help us stabilize and get on the right path. So the first group on the left is the SNA, or the Syrian National Army. That then breaks down into the Free Syrian Army that breaks into two subgroups: the NFL, the National Front for Liberation, and the LCM, Liberation and Construction Movement. And then you can see all the subgroups underneath of that. Yes, these are Islamic groups. The second, the Fatah al-Mubin. Now, everybody's heard of the Fatah al-Mubin. This is Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. This is a very, very powerful group inside Syria. This is the second group, and you can see the sub-breakdowns on that. Another group that you've probably heard of, just in general news, is the Syrian Democratic Forces, with the yellow flag there, and People's Defense Units. And then you can see the subgroups under that with the Jaish al-Thawar, the different forces there. The fourth group is the Southern Operations Command of Syria. This is really known as the Sheikh al-Karama Forces, the Liwa al-Jabal, the Horan Free League, all of these groups. And guys, they do not agree on everything. They do not. But there is one thing they agreed on: overthrowing Bashar al-Assad in that evil regime. They hit them at the perfect time. Russia being crippled, weakened, fighting the war inside Ukraine. Iran being put on their heels as Israel was waging war against their proxy units such as Hezbollah and Hamas and the Yemen Houthis. Iran on the back, on their back step, Russia on their back step, and boom, that is when these forces came in, supported by other groups as well, such as Turkey, and overthrew Assad. Very, very good. Now, we also, a couple of other things that you need to be aware of. Israel is putting the gas down. They are moving. I reported last night, and it was accurate, that the Israeli Defense Forces did push across the Syrian border to stabilize that one town there in the Golan Heights. But now, additionally, another great thing, 3 independent sources have confirmed that Israel targeted a central research facility in Damascus, believed to have been a site of Iran's development of long-range guided missiles. Guys, the nation of Syria was Vladimir Putin and the Ayatollah Khomeini, the evil Iranian regime. It was their sandbox. It was their playground. Unfortunately, now we're seeing some of those characteristics happen in the war in Ukraine with the launch of the Oreshnik hypersonic missile, the six stage again, nuclear missile. It can carry, of course, and it's very difficult, if not next to impossible, to stop at this point. We also see the development of the Iranian Shahed drones all throughout the war in Ukraine, and their counterparts, or their further developments out of the Russian Federation with the Geran 2, the second generation that Russia has developed. We see these sandboxes, but Syria, definitely a sandbox for these evil regimes to play in. Israel has taken out that facility. Now, I just want to give you an overview here. And yes, guys, we'll be going forward day by day with Facts Only and lives, further understanding this, and especially how it connects. I am a firm believer that all of these events are absolutely connected. The war in Ukraine, the connection of North Korea and Russia, the connection of Iran and Russia, the connection of Iran and Hezbollah and Hamas, the Houthi rebels down there in Yemen, Israel fighting these wars on multiple fronts, whether in Lebanon or going after Hezbollah. And then we see this fall of Assad. So in general, here's some points. Syrian opposition rebels completely overthrew the current government and declared a curfew in the capital of Damascus. They even reached the Russian military bases in the country, but they did not attack the Russian military bases. They guaranteed their safety. I don't think it's such a big deal anyway, because most of the Russians had already fled. But regardless, that is what has happened, and that's where we're at right now. The most important question that arose was, what's the fate of President Bashar al-Assad? After all, yesterday, the high-profile information, the crash, and then there was silence about it. It's like, what? How's there silence about a plane going down? But now we understand the operation. And remember, patience is always best on a lot of these big events like that. And we now have multiple confirmations that Assad is there in Moscow. The intelligence of Ukraine reported that the air disaster with Assad on board was a performance by the Russian Federation in order to save the Syrian leader and those close to him. Now, if by chance, guys, you have forgotten or you're wondering, okay, so what is so important about Russia and Syria? What's so important about Putin and Assad? Well, guys, it's the playground they play in. Vladimir Putin, Bashar al-Assad, Ayatollah Khomeini, Kim Jong-un, Xi Jinping. I mean, guys, just a top 5 of dictators in this world causing havoc, wreaking havoc throughout the world and attempting to bring a new world order. If you have forgotten what Russia has to do with Syria, Putin has a very long history in a relationship with Assad, an ally. It was Russia who helped, under the leadership of Putin, Assad bomb his own Syrian cities in 2015 in order to quell the uprisings at that time. What you've witnessed in 2024 is exactly the same that happened in 2015, but the world was not ready for it. The opposition was not ready for it, but this was the perfect time, as we've already discussed in this video. Russia on its back feet with the war in Ukraine, and Iran also dealing with the war against Israel through proxies. It was 2017, guys. There's videos on this. You can see it anywhere. I'm not taking time to show it. It's just a short one. But it was Vladimir Putin coming to Syria and making this speech. Syria's our ally, and we will squash anybody that tries to come against Syria. Well, you see what happens. That red line we always hear about, what happened to it? We just do an operation and take our buddy out. There will be much more coming from this, guys. This story's not over yet. So, just in summary here, the last page, almost immediately after the statement of Ukrainian intelligence, I already told you, it was Ukraine that broke the news first. The Russian mass media appeared on the air announcing that the president of Syria, Bashar al-Assad, was found to be alive and had evacuated to Moscow with his family, where he was provided with asylum. These are the facts now. Now, how is the world responding? Officials around the world have reacted to the events in Syria. The president of France, Macron, the chancellor of Germany, Scholz, the president of the United States, Joe Biden, have already voiced support for the victory of the Syrian opposition. And I can tell you as well, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for Ukraine has already publicly announced that in the future, it is willing to restore normal relations with Syria. Guys, in a nutshell, this is a massive historical event that you are witnessing right now. This is a major turning point for Syria. The dictatorial regime of the Assad family, which has been in place since 1971, 53 years, has been overthrown. Can the same kind of things happen in Russia with the dictatorship of Vladimir Putin, who has been in power for over 20 years? I understand he went to prime minister and back to president, but make no mistake about it, he was in charge. How about the Kim Jong-un trilogy of grandpa and dad and now son? Can it be overthrown? Absolutely, it can be overthrown. And that is what the world is facing. This is the man, Assad, who brutally suppressed peaceful protest against him. He killed more than 500,000 of his own people. Remember the stories, guys. It took so much prominence years ago. The Russian bombings, the mass graves, the gassing of his own people. This forced another 6 million people to become refugees. Just think back and remember all the videos that you would have seen 8, 9, 10 years ago of those Syrian refugee encampments. Guys, that is over. And this is what I close with. I remind you, hearing about this, and I remind you of the past, Vladimir Putin is an ally with the Assad, former Assad regime. They rescued them for humanitarian purposes. What else do you need to know? Iran, full partners, backed up and said, sorry, we can't help. Of course you can't help. You would have got smoked. Russia, unable. Guys, this tells you all that you need to know. And you're up to date right now Thank you for being here. Be blessed. Talk soon.